everybody, and welcome back to yet another... Fucking hell, when I was commentating for Carbuncle's Corner, I could just say welcome back to another Carbuncle's Corner, but... I don't have the intro for this yet. Anyway, Fever, it's not exactly a mode that I play too much, but I enjoy dabbling in it once in a while. And this match is for the Suzuran Puyo Fair, which is a new group of tournament hosts that are trying to play on a trying to show some love to the more non-conventional Puyo, like Fever, for example, which is the tournament that first kicked off their tournament hosting experience. And from what I remember correctly, they also have a skill battle tournament in the works. So if that is something that interests you, then why not join the Discord server that I sure hope is in the description. As you can see, Lolo doesn't exactly have... Never mind, I lied. Lolo has their chain ready, and I'm simply stupid. And even though it's not going to be able to counter it, this is Fever, so Lolo still has a chance. Not if Lolo takes 2 business years to fucking start the chain. Unfortunately, the Lolo's instruction wasn't fully done, so Void will simply not allow Lolo to have enough time to extend or to counter anything, so that means that first round goes to Void. It's been so long since I commented anything, I feel like I'm stumbling with my words so much. Something that I do enjoy with Fever is the drop sets, because it definitely feels like some drop sets are more geared to some playstyles than others. Like, for example, if I remember correctly, there was like once I was playing casually with a friend where I got a drop set where they absolutely fucking hated, and yet I had a perfectly good time with it. The Battle of the Pokes going on right now, and it seems that Void has won it. Lolo needs to dig a lot to be able to connect back to main, which is not too hard. They've almost done it, but still lacking some firepower that Void is definitely not lacking. A quick 3, and Void just sets off main, which is going to be a all clear and all clear. Oh dear. Lolo is in a lot of trouble. Never mind, Fever. Let's see if Fever is going to help Lolo with... Oh, Void also goes into Fever with that all clear, which means that Void already has a lot more power than Lolo has. Along with that moon and like 5 rocks that Lolo has to counter, I don't think it's going to be enough. Yeah, no, time's already running out for Lolo, and Lolo hasn't countered anything from the first board. Will Lolo be able to go into Fever again? Now that is the question. And the answer is no. Which means that the second round also goes to Void. Something that I find very dumb, but at the same time kind of fair, is that different characters have different powers on the modes. Like, for example, hello Zelly that is playing Splatoon 3. I don't know who you are. Where was I saying? Right, yes. There are different characters that have different powers on different modes. Like, for example, a character can excel at Fever but fucking suck at on like non-Fever, because they just set off less garbage when they clear things, which I find kind of dumb. Void just completely destroys that extension, which I find kind of dumb, but at the same time kind of fair, because there needs to be some drawback to some, like, drop sets, otherwise they'd just be objectively the correct choice. That little bit of balancing, quote-unquote, that the Puyo devs have decided to do gives a lot more drop sets from being able to be chosen, but at the same time makes a lot of drop sets not be as favorable to be chosen, which then continues the first problem of it will just make some drop sets be correctly and objectively just better than others. Which has led to the first ever Puyo Puyo tier list, where just some characters are better in Fever than others. That is not going to extend for Void, which is only going to be a 6 chain, which means that Void spent a lot of time for nothing. Ooh, but that extension is not going to work, because Void ends up popping Puyos that Void wasn't supposed to. And Lolo has set off yet another chain, which is a 7, an 8. I can't count. Which means that this is the first round that goes to Lolo. If I remember correctly, this is a first to 5? I'm not sure. Because pulls and like a few rounds of brackets were first 5. Then winners. I was already out of the tournament by then, so I don't really remember what the first 2 were. Because I was already on the commentator seat, so I didn't really pay attention. Oh, and Void sets off main. Void is a 4 double that continues onto an 8. And Lolo also sets off main. That is probably going to counter, considering that this is higher than an 8. Needed a 9 to counter. 9 double into a 10. And that's Fever for both. Except if the Void is in the disadvantage. Void is in a worse position this time. Lolo, you're missing a red on column 1. Lolo does nothing with their Fever, which will allow Void to clean up some of the garbage that he had to offset. And let's see if this little last chain is able to save Void. No, it isn't. And since Void has no resources on main board, it is yet another point for Lolo, which means that they are now tied up. I guess I can now go into my opinion of the players while they are just building their first chains and nothing is really happening. Lolo is a bitch-ass motherfucker. No, I'm joking. Lolo is a great friend of mine who I felt like we've been kind of evenly matched up, but in the way where we're so fucking inconsistent that there are times where Lolo just kicks my ass, and there are another times where Lolo can't seem to get higher than an 8 chain. And that is a 10 for Void, and Lolo doesn't have chain ready, but is popping. Unfortunately, with the double yellow, double blue piece that they had, they end up cutting, so it's shorter than usual, but it still allows them to get into Fever, which is all that you really need sometimes. Other times it just fucks you over. Not the big extension that Lolo was hoping for, but was all that Lolo could do. And now Lolo is back onto main board, where he only has a 3 chain as a new resource, considering that that double green is not going to help him at all. I said my opinion about Lolo, but I didn't really talk about Void, and that is because while I find Void very funny on the few times that we actually interact, Void is not someone that I talk to on the regular, so I don't really have an exact opinion of him. Like, I respect him as a Puyo player. He is funny on the few things that I see of him, but they're not interactions with me. So those interactions might be different than what I see around. So I can't really say my opinion on him with good faith. And while I was talking about this shit, Void just absolutely fucking annihilates Lolo with a chain. Awesome. Lolo sets off main, which is a double 5. Void is also able to get off main, which is just a 5. And then has a 2 to clean up the extra... that's an extra 2 to fucking go into fever. Lolo should have enough resources to go into fever. And they do. A big power from Void and fever for Lolo. That little bit of garbage is actually gonna keep Lolo busy for a while. Oh dear God! That big Puyo was not what you wanted to see when you got absolutely fucking ruined by the singular garbage Puyo. But that does mean that Void takes the set. End match.